right, let's get this started. I am very excited to be here with Gabriela from My Empowered Heart, which is a low histamine food blog. And today we will be fulfilling my personal cooking show dreams with someone I think is really cool and really talented. I think your blog, every single thing you post looks delicious. And I'm really interested to hear about your journey and how this came about. And I know that you have a really interesting backstory with how this all came to be with what we were just talking about before we pressed record. So welcome, happy Gen Lyme Day, and please introduce yourself to the community that may not already know you, even though many already do.
Thank you for hosting today and for celebrating Lyme Days with this day. I think it's not often that we feel celebrated because it is such a crappy disease, right? So I think it's really awesome that you're doing this. I think low histamine food is not very exciting. I'm not going to lie, it's just not. But the idea for my blog and my Instagram was born from kind of just desperation. You know, I got diagnosed with Mast Cell Activation syndrome first and Lyme second. And so I had to try to find a way to calm my mast cells, and low histamine diet was the answer. But the food that I had seen or that I was coming across was just missing so many things that I loved from my old diet, my old life. And so I started trying to come up with new ways to make food fun and delicious again, because at the start it was really depressing. I think I was down to 5 foods. It was like rice, chicken, greens. I could have apple and something else. Cucumber. That was it.
Wonderful addition.
So now we're here, and it's been a lot of fun. I love cooking, and it's really satisfying and fulfilling to be able to enjoy delicious things again, even though they're clearly different from the very spicy and just like rich. Oh, I shouldn't say rich, just like so much flavor packed into meals with Latin food. And so this is kind of a different way to do it. And one of those things is that I love is treats. And so today we're going to make a treat that is okay with mast cells.
I'm so excited to do this and to dive into the conversation further, because I think this is like, I don't know anybody who's dealt with Lyme and co-infections, tick-borne disease, who hasn't come across this issue. And so I'm very excited. So what are we making?
Let's do it. We're making sunbutter caramel, and sunbutter is one of those safe foods. It literally has one ingredient. It's just sunflowers that are ground. So we're gonna start with that. And we're gonna do 2 tablespoons. So
I am realizing I should have pre-mixed this, but since it's quite warm here, I think I could get away with that. A quick mix.
It should work, yeah.
It mixed very well. It's blessing me with favor right now. I appreciate it. Okay. 2 tablespoons of sun butter.
Yeah, you'll do the 2 tablespoons of sun butter, and then how sweet you want it or how sweet you can have things is kind of up to you. The next thing is maple syrup that you'll add. Some people can't tolerate maple syrup, and so they do honey instead, and that's a perfectly fine sub. It's just that for mast cells, honey is triggering, so we're going to use maple syrup today. So you can do 1 or 2 tablespoons depending on how sweet you want it.
Okay.
And so I'll do 1 since I'm actively trying to correct my gut dysbiosis after a year of antibiotics, and it's quite the journey. So I'm going to stick to 1.
Right. Yeah, I'm currently on antibiotics. I've been on and off for a long time, and I know that road.
Yeah, you get it. And then The last one is coconut oil. Ideally, get extra virgin or virgin coconut oil, just because it's the most nutritive. So 1 teaspoon, and it'll all go in there. And it looks pretty messy, right?
That's cool.
And then you
I
got
made
it.
a mess. It doesn't look messy. So part of my setup here is not, I just, we're being real here at Gen Lyme Day, is I have this big thing of paper towels. I'm not going to show you. This big thing of paper towels here because I predicted that I will not do this glamorously and I will make a mess. And that's what happened.
It's all good. Fortunately, this is like a super easy, you can't mess it up kind of recipe.
Yay!
And yeah, about keeping it real, my laptop is literally on my Instapot.
Ooh!
So film this.
Creative.
So you'll take a fork, just because it puts a little bit of air in it when you whip it. And so you'll just whip it. And you'll whip it until it's fully combined. You'll see it'll turn super, super smooth when all of the coconut oil is mixed in. And it's optional. Heating it up is optional. If you want to, then do it. It's up to you. On hot days, I usually don't, but.
Right, it's so warm today.
So then you'll take your bowl of fruit or plate, whatever you have.
I should have gotten another fork. There's a learning curve with impromptu.
Yeah, don't worry.
You have apple, I see. And I'm fairly certain that the fruit I've chosen is not low-histamine, and I have questions about this, but.
No, but it's all good. It's whatever is delicious to you, then that's just what you put it on. It doesn't have to be low-histamine.
Heck yeah.
Seriously, yeah, just whatever you want to put it on. The fun thing about this little sauce is that you can put it on pancakes, on waffles, on fruit. I put it on rice cakes, like literally anything that you want to make a little more sweet and delicious, just throw it on there.
That's so nice.
Oh, on chia pudding too.
Ooh.
On chia pudding. It's super delicious. On
all
chia
right.
pudding. So you
try.
have your fruit.
I've got a citrus.
Oh my God, you did it.
I bought all this because I figured my family would be like, excuse me. You made caramel and you didn't give us any?
That's perfect. So you can warm it up 10 seconds if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. And then literally just drizzle it on there. There's no rules about it, just however you want and however much you want. I usually bathe my fruit in this. Like, I'm not conservative about how much deliciousness I put on it because it brings me joy. And that's what food should do, right? So you drizzle it on there, yeah. And then are you doing it?
I'm here.
Oh.
I'm just like.
I love it. Hey, whatever works.
We talked about this ahead of time, that we would just be real on camera, and this is me with food, like.
Yeah, I think we're both goofy, and we both love food, and so it's a perfect combination.
Sometimes I wish I were playing that up for it's like. I don't know about you, but sometimes something's really delicious and I have a bite, my internal, I'll just share this with you and whoever's watching, that I'm like, everybody out. Like, I just.
I love it.
So excited to try this.
Cool. So you can just eat it like this, or you can put whatever toppings you want on it. If you want nuts, or usually I'll just show you my default is always these two toppings, just because they're good, and both of them are good for you, but one of them is super good for you because it has omega-3s in it.
Ooh.
Do you like it? You like it? Let me try it.
I really like it. I don't want to distract from what you were saying. It was just.
That's good stuff.
Okay, I'm going for it. But I don't want to what were you gonna put on?
No, what I was just gonna say, that was actually awesome. I didn't know if you would like it. But what you do is you can just eat it like this, plain.
I'm fine.
What's going on over there?
I'm very excited.
I love it. I'm glad you like it so much. That makes me so happy.
Trying to be professional about this, and it's like that's not working.
I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if we can be professional. You're right. But we're gonna try. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you the 2 toppings that I love. The first one is this one. This is my most favorite coconut. It comes from Sri Lanka, and it's the best coconut you will ever have. It's organic, and it's not sweetened, but it adds so much flavor. It's so good. It's literally the best coconut I've ever had. So you just sprinkle it on top. And then my other favorite is these hemp hearts, and they're rich in omega-3s, which that was on my nutrition panel that lagging in that department. So I try to add it to everything. So I just put a little bit on there, add some protein, some omega-3s, and it's done. I have this for snack, for breakfast, I have it all the time.
And I may too, very, very shortly after this. That looks beautiful. This is like, I feel it's cool. It's like watching you make your reels from behind the scenes, because every day I go on Instagram and I see that something new and gorgeous and extremely professional looking is coming out from your account. And I'm just like, and it just looks so, it's like, I don't know, it almost looks really difficult to make, even though you make it look so easy. And just watching you put this together, it's the simplest thing, but it's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
That's really cool.
It really makes me happy when people are like us are dealing with crappy circumstances and they can have food that, it's an uplifting experience, right? To have something delicious that you're not going to feel crappy after having it. And so, I mean, I just want to keep it real and say I'm not perfect. I have my moments where I have some things that I shouldn't have because it's life and it's hard. This journey is hard, and where you find joy, you take it. But this is a good one to get back on track with when you need to. So I'm glad we made it today.
Mine's not as pretty. I'm going to try this. I can't wait.
That's awesome. I'm glad we made it.
Oh my God.
It makes me so happy. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I really am. I think this is like, you definitely have no censors right now.
No.
Unless this is the professional part that we maybe had aspirations about in the beginning, throw it out.
Next time it'll be, hey everyone. Well, this is not that video. That's fine. This is really good. And I like it because it's not too sweet. And I know that I have a feeling that people watching this would be like, but the sugar, period, because a lot of us have trouble with sugars in general. And it's a delicate balance because we still have to manage our blood sugar overall. Yeah. And yet putting any kind of sugars in our body can be rough. And that's just, I'm going to go out on a limb, and it just seems like you have to just figure it out for yourself,
Yeah.
And for me, it's been like time sensitive, on 1 month it'll be one way and the next it'll be another.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I mean, you can also make it without sugar and just add the coconut oil and it'll still have that flavor to it.
It's delicious. It's really good.
But to just be really honest, there was a time when I was still getting the weekly IV antibiotic infusions that I really tried not to have sugar. So I wasn't having a lot of this then. And you're right. I mean, there's times when you're not going to have any, and then there's times when you're going to allow yourself to live a little because you just can't rush this healing process.
Lots to discuss if you're willing, but
Yeah.
you've made a lot of like, so your food, what I think is so cool is that you've touched on so many points that I love. I mean, our Lyme diets, it's so tough because what even is a Lyme diet? What is Lyme disease? What are the symptoms? They are really specific to everybody anyway. So a Lyme diet is not going to be the same for anyone across the board. It's all kind of, you know, trial and error. It's all what's going to make your body not hyper reactive and calm down. And so that's why, I mean, a lot of us have mast cell issues. And so how did you learn about this? How did you come to learn about histamine issues, aside from the diagnosis, but about the food and the swaps, and how, what are some of your favorites? I'm loading you up with a lot of questions and I'll repeat them if you need, but like, what are some of your favorite other swaps, even aside from this treat?
Yeah, I think, you know, when I was told to go on a low histamine diet, I didn't have a ton of direction. And when I looked up, and I don't say that this in a bad way or a disparaging way, it's just that all of your medical advice is not going to come from one practitioner. And so you kind of have to search in different places to see where you find the answers that are best for you. And I saw a couple of nutritionists as well on my journey of trying to figure out what low histamine would look like for me, where my soul wasn't completely crushed because I could never have any Latin food, you know, that I grew up with. And that's what it looked like in the beginning. You know, you can have greens, you can have rice, you can have quinoa, you can have chicken, and you can have low histamine fruits, and that's it. And I think what I found so soul crushing was that there was no help, or, you know, there was no one that was providing culturally competent care when it came to my low histamine diet. And my soul was just crushed. I remember having an appointment with a nutritionist, and she basically said, you know, you're never going to have hot sauce again. You're never going to have beans again. You know, this is just the reality. Like, this is the way mast cell is, and you can't have corn. And so it's just slowly, my soul was just being crushed when I heard all this. And I'm a very strong person, but that day I literally cried all day because food is so big to me culturally, and just in general, I have such a love affair with food. It makes me so happy when I eat good things. And
I just cried hearing about it.
Yeah, it just felt like that just had been ripped away. And there was no way I was ever going to get that back, on top of just dealing with Lyme treatment and just all the normal things that we deal with. So I saw a second nutritionist. I just thought, this is just not right for me. Like, I just can't live this way. And I ended up seeing another nutritionist, and she was more accommodating, and she understood. And she said, you know, yeah, maybe you're not going to have a giant bowl of beans, but you can have a little bit at a time. Like, we should try. It's not just this black and white approach where you just like, this is the way it is, and that's it. And that's the way it is with the low histamine diet. I think because it's the diet recommended for COVID long haulers, we're going to see it get diversified a bit more. But when I started to deal with it, that wasn't there. And so it was just heartbreaking. And when I heard the nutritionist say that, I was referred to her by a friend who also has mast cell and Lyme. And when she said that to me, it just felt like I'd been given permission to have a little autonomy to figure out what low histamine would look like for me. And it wasn't some regular list that I'd gotten emailed, you know, some list pulled off the internet that I'd gotten emailed, and that's how I had to eat. Like, I could start to be creative with it. It was like I'd been granted permission, and it's hard to understand that maybe for people that haven't suffered with Lyme, but it's such an unknown world when it comes to treatment, right? There's no gold standard for treatment, and it's all just kind of like, you know, you're feeling your way through it. And that's what it felt like with this diet. And so I thought, you know what, there's no foods out there that are kind of like the foods that I want to eat, that still have a lot of flavor, and aren't just like rice and chicken and apple. Not that that's bad. That's what I ate for many, many months. But just like as my mast cells started to calm, right? I thought, oh my God, maybe I can make this food taste better, because this is just so delicious. Like many times I was eating at the dinner table and just like tears were just rolling down my face, because I so desperately wanted to enjoy food again, but it wasn't happening. And so after that appointment with a nutritionist, I started kind of playing around with food, and I can't even tell you how fulfilling it was to like make my first low histamine taco and think like, this is going to happen. Like, this is really going to happen. And I thought, I can't be the only person that feels this way, right? Where they want their old foods that they used to have, but maybe can't have them exactly that way, right? And this is not just culturally, but just who you are as a person, right? Like for anyone. And so I started to experiment and just started coming up with these random things like sunbutter caramel, that reminded me a little bit of dulce de leche. And which is,
it's one of my favorites. So
oh my God, it's so good.
That's why I freaked out. I was like, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how those things came to be. And then other people started showing interest too and saying the same things. Like, I was so depressed when I had to start this diet. It's so bland. It's just missing so much flavor. And yeah, I think that's just kind of what happened. Honestly, it took that nutritionist to just give me permission, to make me feel like I had permission, and to just make me feel seen in that way, right? Like, sure, you want to enjoy the food you grew up with, you want to enjoy the food that you love, and you can enjoy it maybe a little bit differently, but you can still enjoy it, right?
This is incredible. It's like, keep finding this. It's like we think we're talking about one thing, but we're actually talking about something even bigger. So, what I mean by that is, we think we're talking about food. What we're talking about is identity.
Yeah.
Like our food, like how many of us is food part of our identity? And when we lose that, and it could be like, it's your culture, it's your memory, it's, your ties to people, places, and things, it's family, your enjoyment, it's right, it's how you feel in a moment, it's how you nourish yourself. It's like inexorably so tied to your identity, however it fits into your life a lot of the time. And I'm not going to say it's like that for everyone, but it is that way for a lot of us at one point or another, certainly. And so when we come into like Lyme, especially because it's like we don't have a consistent treatment plan, a lot of it is like regulate your food, and regulate it in this way that's so limiting. And Lyme already strips us of our identity in such an extreme fashion, and this is just another way of having that taken, and that's so hard. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. And that's not okay. And I also have never heard the phrase culturally competent care in the Lyme disease space before. And maybe that's just because no one has never needed to approach me with that, but like, we should be talking about that more, because it's such a huge part of healing. Because as you describe it, when you were given permission to even explore the food that made you happy again, it was like you started grabbing your identity back.
Yeah.
And how is that not part of healing?
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it. That's a perfect way to sum it up.
And now you're healing yourself, and even it's not like a binary thing. You're not either sick or healthy. You're providing all of this stuff in the middle, and permission to kind of be there in the meantime, but have enjoyment. So you're giving that to yourself and others.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful thing to explore. How amazing is that? And I would be really upset. I was very upset when someone said you can't have hot sauce and you can't have. I used to have a little food business. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I used to work in a restaurant in a pastry kitchen and
Oh my
Because
God.
I was like, I would like bake from my apartment, because when I was really like, when I was in a phase, one of many, of being very ill, undiagnosed, in a lot of pain, and like not standing up for a long time, and also not telling anyone, I just watched a lot of Food Network. And I was like, I'm going to learn this, and I'm going to learn this very, I'm going to get really good. And I was just, I started like, so when I started getting a little better, I started testing my skills, and then I started catering
Oh,
receptions of things. And that
yeah.
kind of led to a little baking business that became something that I enjoyed doing. And fast forward a little bit to when pre Lyme diagnosis, but a doctor was like, so you really are basically allergic to all of this. You can't have gluten, dairy, sugar, etc. And I was that person in New York that day on the phone on the sidewalk, like, what? No, I'm not gonna do that. Yelling, you know. Everyone in New York City at least has been that person once. It's kind of like the joke. And that day, that was definitely me, where I was like, no, not just because I liked it, but because I had worked on it.
Yeah.
There's so many elements of of food that it's not even just about putting something in your face. It's yeah, it's like your identity for a lot of reasons. And
Yeah.
so I think that the way that you've described it, and the service that you're providing, and you also know it from another side, because we haven't even touched on this, you're a nurse. You know what you're talking about and what's lacking, and the way you present that to people is very cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just, healthcare, or understanding your healthcare shouldn't be a privilege that only some people have. Like, you should understand why you're being told to eat certain things, what it does in your body, what it does, what abstaining from those foods does. Like, you should understand all those aspects of it, right? So that's, in an ideal world, that's what would happen, right? Like, patients should be empowered to know why they're being told to follow certain directions or instructions, right? So I think I just, it's really fulfilling when I get messages from people that just felt happy again because they got to eat something or understood why they had to do something. And it just makes me want to keep doing it, because everyone should feel empowered, right? To
That
manage.
makes it makes sense why you named your blog what you did.
Yeah, my husband helped
Right?
me come up with that name. Yeah, we did like a little exercise. And that's how we came up with it. But that's my desire, right? And it part of it is fueled by, just like you're raising awareness, because Lyme shouldn't be some hidden unknown thing that is rare when it's really not, right? It's just misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed. But in that same vein, like, you want to empower people, right? You want people to feel empowered to face this, right? To walk that path, because it's really hard, and to not feel alone. And in that same way, that's my goal with this blog, to have people feel empowered to create their own deliciousness at home and not cry while they have a meal like I was at the start. And also just to understand, right? Like, I hate when doctors just say, like, just do this, and yeah, you should be feeling better soon, but don't actually tell you why, right? And it's so disempowering to not feel comfortable asking, and that's so crappy, right? Like, to be
Yeah.
caught in that space, and I've certainly have been caught in that space before, and it's really hard. So that's kind of my goal. Like, yes, delicious things, but also for you to understand why you're doing it.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for all of this, for what you do for the community, and what you do even for yourself and your family, just healing your, like, one person working on themselves and sharing that with the people in their lives and the world is inspiring. And that can also, you know, it seems small if it's just you at home, but it's not. And you're doing even more than that. And thank you for coming here and talking and teaching me this. And I'm going to eat that. And my family is going to get a little, but they're going to like it. Oh, no. And it's going to, no, they're going to love it. I'm very excited. Thank you so much.
Glad. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And I'm so just amazed by the work that you're doing. And it was really humbling to see you in New York. But when it comes to the blog, thank you for acknowledging all those pieces. And at the end of the day, I am a patient like everyone else. Even if I am a nurse, I'm still a patient, and I'm still a patient that had 44 practitioners like misdiagnose me. So my journey is no different from any other Lyme patients. You know, we all hit the same walls, and I just want to make understanding and good food accessible to everyone. So thanks for letting me share that today.
I'm all for it. And thank you so much for all of this. And that's a great point. It could be anyone as powerful as anyone is. If they come against like a problem like Lyme right now, they'll suddenly feel the disempowerment.
Yeah.
Which sucks. And that's why people in the advocacy space are working on that and the awareness. And it's also why we need to be here for each other and celebrate each other as human beings in the meantime.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just take all of that away. Right?
Yeah. You said it perfectly. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Happy Gen Lyme Day.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope you like it, and I hope your family enjoys it too.
Oh no. Yes, we will. They do. Yes.
Talk to you soon. Thanks for having me. Bye.